Welcome, film industry professionals, film buffs, and aspiring filmmakers. I'm your host, Fernando Gillen, and our lovely co-host, Dana de la Camera. This is the Cinema Pathway TV show, presented by Paradoxical Films and brought to you by Cinevideotech. Join us on this journey behind the camera and, most importantly, beyond what we know about cinema and the craft of filmmaking and all its mysteries. So please, take a seat, grab a soda and some popcorn, and join us on this cinema road together, because we are the Cinema Pathway TV show. Welcome to the Cinema Pathway TV show. I am your host, Fernando Gillen, and today I am super thrilled to have with me one of the greatest filmmakers and executive producers of Tel-Air in South Florida, Mr. Gravitt.
Thank you, brother. It's good to be here, man. I get fries, too. This is awesome. It's an honor to be here, and thanks to all your viewers for tuning in. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Gravitt Jr., president of Tel-Air, is an Emmy Award-winning industry leader in television and production who has revitalized one of the Southeast's most storied production companies. With over 1,400 hours of regional and national television programming to his credit, Grant has produced content for PBS, National Geographic, NBC, CBS, IMG, and IBM, as well as corporate clients and entertainment industry leaders. His extensive portfolio includes government commissions, music specials, political campaigns, live sports programming, syndicate features, and pioneering televised murder trials long before the O.J. Simpson case that captivated audiences. One of his many achievements is he is an Emmy Award winner and 3-time Emmy nominee. Grant received critical acclaim for the tele-documentary Jockey, featuring William Conrad. His contributions to the industry and company have also earned him the prestigious prize Waterhouse Young Professional Up and Corner of the Year Award, an honor he uniquely won in both Dade and Broward Counties, recognizing his professional excellence and philanthropic contributions. Beyond production, Grant is a dedicated philanthropist and community leader. He has served on the boards of esteemed organizations such as the New World Symphony, the American Cancer Society Florida chapter, and the American Red Cross. Under his leadership, Tel-Air continues to merge its rich legacy with bold, forward-thinking innovation. Let's start from the beginning, way back. So what drove you into cinema?
Well, a kind of nepotism. I actually thought I was going to be a professional soccer player for a little while in my life, but my family started the industry, literally. My dad was 15 years old when he was hired to sign the first TV station on in Florida, WTVJ. That was out of Miami. He was a sophomore at Edison High School in Miami, downtown Miami, and he got hired as a movie usher out of the Gusman Hall, the Olympia Movie Theater in downtown. Colonel Wolfson, who owned the theater, also owned the first TV station. So they brought him in a couple of months before they signed on. And sign-on day was March 21st, 1949. My dad was 15 years old. And as of March 21st last year, my family's been in showbiz for 75 years.
75 years.
75 years, 76. The joke's on us. We're still here.
So Tel-Air was established in 1958. However, was a family business in 1958, but it wasn't established until 1962. How did you become part of it?
Well, I was born into it, I'll be honest with you. My mom and my dad, they started Grant and Mary Lou. I never called them mom and dad. Grant was well-known, very entrepreneurial.
Your dad?
My dad, Grant Sr. I'm a Grant Jr. Nepotism. My dad, Grant, was known as a very big sound audio person. My dad actually mixed the Beatles' second appearance on Ed Sullivan.
No way.
Yeah, did that in Miami Beach. My dad worked on the network shows for many years. Literally, like his first network show, he was an assistant audio at 16. The shows that were shot in Miami back in the day, they didn't have a lot of crews because, well, they didn't have a lot of TV stations and they didn't have a lot of TVs. When I tell you my dad sent the first signal out of television, there was only 2,000 televisions in all of Miami. Miami was an itsy bitsy town. And so I come from a little town called Miami. That's how the natives used to call it. And it was very much a winter town. And as soon as Easter hit, everybody went north and it became an extremely tiny town. So everybody knew each other. It was nice, but it's paradise. I got to tell you, I'm absolutely blessed. We're such an amazing crossroads of so many different things. And one of them was my parents. My grandparents, great-grandparents came down to build South Florida. We didn't do the financing. We actually pounded the hammers and nails. So my mom and my dad are truly the American dream.
That's Mary Lou Gravitt.
Yeah, Mary Lou. Mary Lou and I produced about 400 hours of TV together over our career. And my dad and I produced about 1,000 hours together. And the first thing I ever produced with my dad, we won an Emmy, a national Emmy. It was called Jockey. It was a docu-follow on jockeys in horse racing. Went around the country. I was 18, turning 19.
What an experience at that age, right?
Just stunning, man. I mean, in beginner's luck, right? I mean, and then I didn't get nominated for another 28 years. So, I thought every year it was going to happen. So did Dan Marino with the Dolphins. He thought it was going to happen every year. And you get the opportunities when you get them. And brilliant, by the way. What we do, either you, I, the gentlemen here, and the ladies who are working behind the camera, we're blessed.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, thank you, by the way. Big props to the hardworking guys back there. But we're blessed. What we do is, truly something that is unique. I mean...
And some people don't get it.
Oh, my God. And we live a life less ordinary. That's all you can ask for, a life less ordinary. What we do is cool. It's fun. The hours are long. The pay is bad, so we have that going for us. But it's really a lot. It's a cool thing, I totally dig what I do.
It does.
but you got to own intellectual property to really hit the home run. In
yeah,
so
for
we're all looking for owning intellectual property. My family's been chasing the muse since literally 1949. We incorporated in 1962, but we started doing business in 58. We started in the back of our house, and it's 2025, and we're back in the back of our house again because that's what you do nowadays.
So you always wanted to be in the show business.
We started the industry in Miami. My dad, one of the first ones in the phone book. Tel-Air started in North Miami. And our first big client was the Miss Universe pageant, been Venezuelan. I think you know a little bit about pageants. Yeah. Some of the most beautiful women are from Venezuela.
100%.
I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue that one. And but my dad got a big break in 1960. He got called in on a national television show first year, and we were called to do all the non-live segments of the broadcast. And he was like, 26 years old with a family company doing the most watched TV show in the world in a couple of years. So that was our first big opportunity. Gulfstream Racetrack was our second client. And I can tell you that I've had both of those clients for over 50 years.
50 years?
50. Crazy.
Wow, man, that's crazy. You really had an incredible upbringing. For you collaborating with TV networks and production sets, what would you say, what was the experience that you realize in your life was not a typical experience?
Oh, no, I've been blessed. I mean, touched by the hand of God. I mean, yeah, I've been fortunate, very good family. But the thing is, what do you do with it? Do you run with your opportunities? The one thing about Tel-Air is we don't do anything a 10-year-old girl can't see with both eyes open. We're a very family-valued company. We do projects that are inspirational, motivational, educational, or historical.
So in what year did you took charge of Tel-Air?
I bought my parents out, literally gave them a check in 1998. I was still in my mid-30s. But it was a apprenticeship type thing. I as I said, I started playing soccer. I was shooting film at the age of 4. When you're in the industry and you've been around it enough and you got the confidence to know who you are, you realize there's 1,000 flavors of good. And you're one of the flavors of good, but there's so many flavors of good. And you really need to support those people. And you really need to support the local scene because, it affects us all. And everybody should be given a hand to move up, If dreams are the most sacred things we have. So, if your dream is to be a movie maker, man, you should have every opportunity to be a movie maker. And you should be encouraged by the industry because as rides one, rides all.
What do you think about the industry nowadays?
I will be honest with you. I have a 67-year-old startup company. You can't see anything as what it was. History is what it was. And potential means you haven't done it yet. You just got to get your feet dirty. You got to go in there and you got to do what is true, man. Don't do what is right. Do what is true. And if you can be authentic and you could tell a good story, because at the end of the day, it's content. Don't let anybody fool you. Doesn't matter what you shoot it on, an iPhone or the greatest Aeroflex or Panavision. It doesn't matter. If you got a good show, got a good film, got a good short, got a good docu-follow or documentary, it's going to drive eyeballs. At the end of the day, people get too hooked on it. But don't forget, if you have a mantra like above your door when you go out every day, remember, content is king. At the end of the day, content is king. Don't forget, it doesn't matter how you tell your story. Look, we're telling the story to a lot of eyeballs. People will find it if it's a good story. And at the end of the day, technology has caught up with everything. But at the end of the day, the Lord only made so many good storytellers. The only thing I have going for me is I'm a good storyteller. You know?
I can tell.
Well, you have to be. That's what my living is. You know, if I'd be a banker, I'd have been a good banker. If I'd have been a garbage man, I've been driving the truck. You got to be the best at whatever you put your mind to, whatever your game is. Because at the end of the day, you got to be cool with looking in the mirror. And you got to say, man, I didn't shortchange anything. Leave it all on the field, as we said in soccer. Got to leave it on the field.
5 years.
Let's talk about the Hollywood industry, man. I think it's dying slowly.
It's interesting what's happening. I think that anything you get complacent, and I think Hollywood, or the concept of California, or the concept of there being an entertainment capital in America. I mean, Bollywood, Hong Kong, there's a lot of different capitals of film.
Turkey,
don't forget Turkey, you know, and then there's the South American scene. There's scenes everywhere. And I think that's ultimately what's going to come out of this, bigger scenes everywhere. But the problem is Hollywood thought they were too big to fail. They just got complacent. The redundancy of scripts has caught up with them. Just chasing, it's a lightning strike twice industry. That's what we do. We follow things. We don't create new things. We try to find lightning striking in the same place twice. So the problem is once again, as we said a minute ago, it's all about the content. You know, if you can't deliver good, solid entertainment,
original
entertainment, you know, and I think that things should be, going back to what my company believes in, I think things should be inspirational, motivational, educational, or historical. I think those are the basis of what the film should be, and they should be more inspiring. They should be more uplifting. I don't think entertaining is a bad word. I think things could be a lot more positive. You know, you pay $15, $18 to be depressed going home. It's like, man, the economy, I was depressed before I got in there. I don't need to get depressed, pay $18 to go home. I think they need better content.
Hypothetically speaking, like, if I can get you an original screenplay and you read it and you like it, would you be interested in producing that movie?
It goes back to why Hollywood is dying. Every scene, every community that has a voice and that has a community that is being supported, they're going to be more viable in what is the new world order of entertainment. Things like Miami. You know, I don't, you know, I know your show is a World Wide Web, but, you know, we'll talk about Miami, as I know. Miami has always had the local filmmakers. You can make a horror film for couple $100,000 and get a return. You can make episodic down here. Episodic is pretty well known. We need to develop a bigger base. We need almost like an incubator that they have around different places for development of local ideas, locally produced, locally funded. We can have our own community, and that could be the same of San Diego, Des Moines, Iowa, for, you know, Gary, Indiana. You know, every community that should have the opportunity to have a renaissance of being creative. And, you know, film is such a personal experience. I would love to see the day when we get talented people like yourself. You come up with a kick-butt, great script that is, you know, once again, content is king. And I would love to see not only local producers take that, but also the local community educated enough, the banking industry, the support industry, the service industry, to realize what that means and how much that helps the economy.
We're going to take a short break, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Tell Your Story. It is a masterclass hands-on workshop that is presented by Cine Videotech and brought to you by Paradoxical Films. crafting cinematic vision and lighting engineers with the instructor, Mr. Egon Stefan Jr. You will learn how to work with actual film, 16mm, Super 16mm, 35mm, and film cameras. In addition, how to load them and change magazines. Furthermore, the workshop will prepare you on how and what it takes to work on set as a first or second assistant camera, the fundamentals of lighting, and the pathway to becoming a director of photography. Furthermore, coming soon, unveiling the artistry, a mastering of makeup techniques with the uber-talented special effects makeup artist, Bianca Graziani. She will enrich your knowledge and techniques with professional tools that are implemented in the film industry, commercials, and more. For information about the classes and updates, everything will be posted on our website at www.paradoxicalfilms.com/tellyourstory.
We are back, Cinema Pathway people, with Mr. Grant Gravitt, and we are going to dive deep into your career. What is the name of your production team?
Well, we have two entities. We have Tel-Air Interest, which is the family-started company, and that was the one we incorporated in 1958. And then we just started a new venture called Tel-Air Films. That's our nonprofit division of Tel-Air Interest. That is for historical, motivational, informative, and educational projects, and inspirational. We are going to be focusing on telling stories that are not told in our communities, the underserved. We're going to be telling a lot of different stories. And so, to get the human experience of what is growing up in South Florida. So that's Tel-Air Films. That's exciting. But Tel-Air Interest has been the thrust of my family since 1958. And we've been doing that now for 67 years. And I've been very fortunate to have such a wonderful run. So, yeah, that's the family business, and that's what we do.
So what was the first project that you done professionally by Tel-Air Interest Incorporated?
We signed on. My dad incorporated, Grant Sr., incorporated Tel-Air to service two big clients, which actually stayed with us for over 50 years. Our first two clients were Gulfstream Racetrack, which was the big horse parimutuel property in Hallandale, not far from Miami. And that became a 50-plus year relationship of producing live television shows and doing their commercials, their large campaigns. I directed such talent as Tony Curtis, Larry King, Joe Namath. Yeah, we had very diverse. Emerson Fittipaldi, if you're a race fan. We had many different celebrity hosts, and that was really cool for the different campaigns. So as a young man, I got to work on that and produce that. My dad also owned the ad agency that was contracting us for those gigs. So Gulfstream Racetrack in 1960 was one of the reasons why we turned the lights on. The second reason was for another national broadcast that began in 1960 that was called the Miss Universe pageant. And that became a very successful franchise. Yeah, so that was in 1960. That was the first broadcast, and that was out of Miami Beach. My dad was part of the crew that would produce and shoot the different events that would come through Miami for television. He worked with such famous people as Arthur Godfrey, Jackie Gleason. My dad worked on the Ed Sullivan Show every time it was shot in Miami.
My God, Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, Ed Sullivan. So I've had, Elvis Presley to my house. I've had the Beatles to my house. My mom would throw, Mary Lou, would throw a very, very
Did you met Ringo and John Lennon?
Apparently I did. I'm like a year old. I do have a story that my dad told about the sound guy on the show was trying to convince John Lennon that the future of him as a musician was not as a pop star, but he should get into jazz, like Mingus and Brubeck. And, that if he wanted a career in music, this pop thing was probably not going to work out, and that he probably wanted to get into the jazz scene. And, well, luckily he didn't take his advice.
I'm glad that he didn't.
But that's a very famous story, and that happened in my house. It was crazy. We were in North Miami, a very normal neighborhood with normal people, with normal jobs, except for my family. And all these people would come over about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning So my neighbors never complained. They would go home, they would take a nap, and then show up about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning at the house to see all the people they've seen on television, and then would go about their days and their day jobs. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a very cool, unique time. Miami was a very small town, and Tel-Air, because my dad and the people he associated with, we were very much a cornerstone of the industry, and that was really, really some heady times. Those were some fun times to be in showbiz. The golden days. The television was more my jam, not film work. We did do a lot of audio for film. We had a group called Cinema Sound. My family moved into a recording studio called Criteria in 1966, very famous recording studio in North Miami. They did Layla, Hotel California, Saturday Night Fever, Grease, tons of Rumors, Tusk, tons of over 900 gold and platinum albums when we left there in 98. So we were blessed. We had this entertainment complex. And, we took advantage of it. We did a lot of productions and brought a lot of jobs and a lot of money to South Florida, and we're very proud of that.
You must have had mentors in your life. Who are they?
Oh,
where are they? Are they alive? Are they dead?
Well, sadly, my dad, every young man should say his dad is his biggest, mentor. I was blessed. Oh, my God. I so won the parent lottery. Not only did I have Grant Sr., who literally started the industry, Minch, super cool dude. A lot of people here, we were either their first job or we were their first client, including Egon's father, who started this part of, what is iconic South Florida filmmaking. So yeah, been blessed. We were the guys who started the game. And through that, comes its advantages. You get the cool gigs. But, at the end of the day, we worked hard. And it wasn't just Grant. Mary Lou, my mom, man, she was at the heart of the female suffragette movement. I mean, she was running a company in the 50s when women just did not do that. Oh, my God. I'm an unrepentant mama's boy, and I was so proud of my mom. What she did, she started the suffragette movement in television and film. I used to joke with her, and she hated that. She said, that's not why I did it. I did it to raise a family and to put food on our table. But, man, she cleared the path for a lot of women to come in, and friends that mentors like Mo and different women who have come through.
Mo's
my mom,
so cool, man.
Mo, we gave Mo probably her first really big gig. She worked on as an assistant to the director. Mo's the bomb, man. I remember when Mo was a skateboarding, freckled-haired, pretty girl when she was 16, 17 years old, trying to get skating board gigs. I've known Mo for years. Well, that's it, and they've all known me. I grew up in this industry, and it's a very nepotistic, very small, very cool thing. And everybody knows each other. We're only 2 degrees of separation from each other. And I encourage people to get in this business, and I try to help. I'm very involved in the local community programs, University of Miami, the Dade Community Colleges, FIU, FAU.
Hollywood Film Festival?
Well, with them, I was a Miami Film Festival sponsor, but that's a little high. I like the education side of it down here. The schools that are magnets.
Who's the guy that runs Hollywood Film Festival? Collins?
I don't know the Hollywood Film Festival. There was a Fort Lauderdale Film Festival, and that was Gregory Von Hausch, but he just relinquished last year. We just did our first year as sponsors of the Miami Film Festival, and they're fantastic. I've sponsored them many times before, but we just jumped in as a title sponsor this year. And so, yeah, you got to help those people. But there's many different levels of people who need to move up the thing, and those are 2 of them: our film community and our education community.
Talking about films, like how do you decide which projects to go with?
I've got a project right now that very excited about. Well, I'm working on a film. My goal is to get into films. I've always been a television person. We did long-form television for 40, 50 years, and then I retired in 2016, got kind of burnt. My last show kind of ran its course. The Miss Florida USA pageant was a live 2-hour. We did 39 years, didn't make it to 40.
The beauty pageants?
Yeah, we did the Miss Universe pageant, which we were a fee for service, but we owned the license of Miss Florida USA, and that was a live 2-hour. And after 39 years, it's ran its course. I sold my studios. I had 20,000 square feet in Hollywood, so took care of my Mary Lou as she transitioned, and when she passed,
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. I wanted to get into feature films, and that's the only muscle I'd never used. So we ran into one of my former pageant contestants, Tiffany Terrell, and now we actually ran into each other at a Pride Parade in which my church sponsored. She noticed me. We said hi. She said she was looking to come to Miami. I said, I'm starting the family company up again. So in 2023 of November, we restarted it. And now we're just about to launch 2 streaming series, both shot regionally. Well, one shot regionally, one will be shot over throughout about 13 cities. The one I can talk about is called Don't Tell Me How to Art. It is a episodic on different art communities throughout the United States and hopefully a year, 2 or 3 abroad. The concept is, Pablo Picasso said, you learn the rules like a professional and you break them like an artist. So we are going to feature the rules breakers in different art communities, Miami, Santa Fe, New York, LA, Charleston, Asheville, the hot art towns in the country. And it's going to be on PBS. We are going to feature the Young Turks, those who are breaking the rules, those who will be making the cliches tomorrow's cliches. So we're going to be featuring the Young Turks of the different communities. It's also going to be a travelogue. What are the hip neighborhoods? Where do you want to go to when you go to Miami? And it's going to be unique. We're going to have spoken word. We're not going to have a traditional host. And it's going to be really out of the box because, well, if you're talking about a show that's about breaking rules, well, you got to break some rules yourself. So it's going to be and hopefully it's going to be destination television. It's definitely going to be something that hasn't been seen before. And we're really excited to roll that out. And that took me 17 months to develop.
Wow, man.
A lot of knocking on doors. A lot of improved meetings.
Hustling.
You don't manifest stuff. You get your hands dirty and you make it happen. The Lord helps those who help themselves. I've never been the type who said, there's nothing here for me. Nobody wanted me at the table. I had to make room at the table for myself. I believe in expanding the table. I believe that tables should be made bigger in what we do.
What was that
And
line?
they should be more inclusive. There should be everybody at the table. But the tables shouldn't shrink or be the same size. The tables should grow.
Yeah, what was that line from Jack Nicholson in The Departed? I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
The most valid thing you have is a dream. So everybody's out there who's dreaming of doing this stuff, man. Somebody your age is going to be doing it. Might as well be you. So put your best foot forward. And if it don't work out, at least you don't look in the mirror and say, I didn't give it a shot.
Yeah,
and
man.
I totally believe that, I am the luckiest dude in the world. I'm living a dream. I pinch myself every day. And Tel-Air does a gift to the community every year since 1990. We give back to charity work. We give a donation, a gift, in which I don't make the employees also give the gift. I pay the employees. And we do world-class marketing tapes, films, things to help the community. Because you know what? I've been blessed. You got to give back.
So Tel-Air Interest has collaborated in many leading projects, such as CBS, NASCAR, the famous Sears documentary, Timex campaign, the famous Timex campaign.
That was fun.
With the Lolita killer whale.
That was bad.
I mean...
That was bad. Working with killer whales was friggin' bad. I'm like 14 years old.
What was those experiences
like?
Give me anecdotes.
Oh, that was awesome. Are you kidding? Oh my God. So we've traveled the world. I've almost had the first piece of space junk fall on our head in Australia. We've been held hostage by the guerrillas in El Salvador. I've almost died in Iquitos on the Amazon. We've had bombings in the Philippines, Puerto Rico. Our hotel got bombed right as we were doing the Miss Universe pageant. Came back to all of our stuff being in the courtyard because they blew up our floor. You get really cool stories.
We're gonna be right back. We're gonna take a short break. Stay tuned.
We want to take this moment to thank our partners that helped us make this show possible. Cine Videotech has provided film equipment, training, and rental services inside and outside the United States since 1968. Theatrical Productions offers consulting, productions, and rental services in Central and South America for a wide range of films, advertising, marketing, commercial projects, and more. Art Accelerator is a non-profit organization that helps emerging artists accelerate their careers through film classes and film industry networking events.
And we are back to the only show that puts you in the middle of the action of cinema, back with Mr. Grant Gravitt. So, Grant, you were the executive producer of the Cuban migration documentary Arch Greek, The Sucker Nights in Florida. What compelled you to be an executive producer for those projects?
This goes back to actually my dad. I was a newborn at that time. The first Cuban migration took place in like 1960 down here. Apparently not a lot of the United States knew a lot about it, so we were retained by PBS to do the first documentary on it, and this is when things were starting to kick down here in Miami. And it was very controversial. It was very, very powerful. Matter of fact, it was one of two projects that we actually received death threats while doing. The local militias down here, I guess, thought that we were giving a slant that we shouldn't have, and they actually threatened us with blowing up our facilities. So we had Metro Police at our offices, and yeah, you know, it was a tinderbox, a hot topic.
What kind of death threats?
Well, you know, I don't know how many types there are, but yeah, they didn't like the fact that we were telling the Cuban story. I guess, you know, what's funny is after seeing it, and they were out playing war games out in the Everglades at that time, and it was a funky time. It was before the Cuban blockade, when things got really scary down here, when, you know, people really thought the world might end.
With the Russian missile crisis?
With the Russian missiles, and, you know, it was, my parents told me it was like a military parade, like in Russia, just looking on 95, or wasn't 95, it was US 1 back in the day, of everything coming down here. Basically, you know, it was ground zero. And it was a very impactful documentary. We showed the arrivals, we showed the Freedom Tower, we showed the Catholic Archdiocese, who was at the thrust of it, but we told the story. You know, we went out to the Straits. We have some really moving footage of people literally on balsa wood and bamboo and palm trees trying to float over. Man, it was impactful. It was a huge gig.
Don't tell
put
me
us
that
on the
those
map.
images appeared in Scarface.
No, that would be wrong. But these were touching. It was, once again, it was telling the truth of the story. It was showing and documenting, and it was informing the rest of the world and how unique Miami was, and what ultimately would turn out to be the Miami of today. I mean, those were the people that came over here first, and, you know, really set Miami to be such a cool international city. But the story was intriguing, the story was compelling, the story was truthful, and we told the truth of what was going on. And, you know, that made for good documentaries and made for good television, and it started on the process of what became an industry leader because of, you know, telling good content, good programming. It all goes back to content, good compelling stories, and honest stories, and authentic stories. And I mean, that's how you succeed in what we do.
Speaking of television, throughout your career, you definitely have met some very, very interesting individuals. You met Jerry Springer.
Yes.
What was your friendship with that guy? I used to watch his shows when I was a teenager, and obviously it was scripted,
Yeah.
but it was so entertaining.
Well, yeah, first of all, the crazy thing was that they shared a crew with Oprah Winfrey. So you talk about opposite sides in Chicago.
Totally.
I had quite a few friends that worked on the show. So you do, you know, they should do two shows at a time. So you'd shoot on the east side with one group, and you shoot Oprah, and, you know, that's a totally different thing than Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer and I met each other at the National Association of Television Programming Executives, NAPP, their national convention. Back in the day, that's where we used to sell our programming. It has metamorphosized into a different type of thing, but NAPP is still around. But you would go to these conventions, and, you know, you would see people. They would be there pitching their wares, your what they called off-network programming. You'd get your Wheel of Fortunes, your Oprahs, your Jeopardies, all the things that were going into reruns. There'd be hot shows that would be coming out every year, Married with Children, or so on and so on. So, of course, Springer was a big show.
Al Bundy.
Yeah, Al Bundy. Interesting dude. And for some odd reason, for 5 years, I stayed at the same hotel with all the WWF wrestlers. Yeah.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Andre the Giant would be beating the crap out of Hulk Hogan, and then they go out for beers afterwards. Grew up at a recording studio, Criterion, North Miami. So I got to be around a lot of rock and roll stars when I was growing up.
Such as?
Oh my God, I got a great story. Aretha Franklin, very nice lady, worked at our studio. Matter of fact, Atlantic Records was our biggest client at Criterion. Atlantic had just taken Aretha, I believe it was CBS Records, where she was a gospel artist. And they promised her fame and fortune in non-secular music and, non-gospel music. We were not Criterion Recording Studios, but we were partners in the building that was Criteria. So we were the second story and a little bit of the first, and we were the film company. So anytime that there needed to be film or video to be shot for the network or for the labels or for networks, or did a lot of work with the overseas music shows, they would call us and we'd be commissioned and we'd shoot. So one day we're shooting with Aretha Franklin. It's her first album. The band's more popular than she is. She's very new, very young. And my dad, Jerry Wexler, who was the producer, commissioned my dad to shoot a performance piece on one of her songs, wound up being the title of one of her albums. They decided to pull the project. They decided not to release a single. My dad was told to destroy all copies of what they had made. I'm 5, 6 years old. I'm editing film just for fun. Have a Bolex. I'm shooting at 5. Anyway, had my own editor. So when they threw things out, I saw this, possibly films I could play with. So I dumpster dived. My dad was told to throw away all 8 prints of this performance piece. So when nobody's looking, I do a little diving and I get a couple of the spot reels out of the 3-minute piece. So I take one back and I play with it, and the other I put in the back of my closet and forget about it. 20 years later, we're moving, and I find this film that I took, and I give it to my father, thinking he's going to be mad at me or something, but he wasn't, and he took that film and put it in his desk for about 30 years. And in 2023, when we restarted the company, I found this 3-minute performance piece of Aretha Franklin in which nobody's ever seen. I brought it out to LA. There's a very famous photo lab. They do prints, they do transfers. It's called Photochem. Very famous. Matter of fact, they are such a good company. They do everything historic film-wise. The gentleman who worked on this project before me had just finished the 8K redo of Natalie Wood's West Side Story.
Wow.
So they're very huge. They're very famous. Matter of fact, they get $6.75 an hour for colorization. So I bring this film out, which is like me and Tiffany, we fly out to LA. This is like first month of our company. And so I bring this 3-minute spot reel of something that Aretha had never been seen before. I also had a Ted Williams project, the baseball player. So I brought the two of them out. I didn't want to ship it out. I literally hand carried it because I was so nervous. The only print in the world. And so I get it out there. I bring it to them and drop it off, sign the stuff. And now at least I know it's bonded. I can't mess it up. So I get a call back as we're going down to Malibu or someplace cool for dinner. It's magenta. All your film is magenta. The stock, it was 1970 stock. I'm sure they use cheap film stock, probably Kodak. The stuff had turned color, so I'm freaking out. It's like, oh, man, I'm really bummed. Anyway, they said, we're going to try to save it. So unbeknownst to me, the gentleman who I'm working with shows this 3-minute clip to the owner of Photochem. And they said, this is a national treasure. Literally, how many things get found in the back of a garage or something that are like that? So unbeknownst to me, they make it a personal project, and they want to resave this 3-minute piece. They spend, get this, 17 hours on restoring that 3-minute film. Looks really good now. They only charged me for 2, and they said that, they were honored to work on a national treasure. I got this beautiful shining piece, but that's just the start of the story. Now, I don't know if you know anything about film rights. I own the film, but I don't own what's on the film because it's copyrighted music. The Franklin family, because Aretha has died, and she had no will, so the family is a mess right now. They can give me permission to do this, but I need permission from them. So neither of us can work without each other. So the last year, I've been so trying to get to the path of Warner Brothers. I got through. Warner Brothers owns the music rights to this piece. And they told me, listen, we'd love for you to do whatever you need to do to exploit it. We give you total permission, but you got to get permission of the family to use it. So for the last year, I've been trying to find paths into the Franklin family because, as I said before, I own the film on the film. It's like a classic catch-22. They own what's on the film, but they don't own the film. So neither of us can do things together. I've actually got 4 or 5 Bob Marley concerts that the world has never seen. And I've been trying to, every couple of years, approach them about doing something. And all they do is just send me cease and desist orders. But yeah.
Give us a call back, man. We're
Exactly.
busy now.
That's the irony of things. I've got this wonderful project, but I am trying to get to the family. And that's what producers go through. That's just a typical story in the day. But I've got this amazing piece of footage that is truly something that will literally blow the doors off of people, and only about 100 people have seen it. So yeah, when we get permission on that, that's going to be a special, somehow I'll use it. I want to tell the story of early Aretha Franklin, how she went from a gospel artist to the Queen of Soul. I want to talk about her early years, but I would use that as the kind of the driver. But that's just a typical story, man. That's what producers go through every day. That's just so I'm working on that project, trying to get that happening. That's been 14 months.
For a person that has so much experiences creating content in other countries with complex challenges such as typhoons, earthquakes, hostage situations, what was the worst part of all that in terms of the integrity of the team? Did you guys became the resistance? What happened?
No. It was never an us against the world type thing. But, you get the project done. Sometimes, like in Peru, they gave us $7 million to do the project, but the people
ceviche.
were starving. Yes, ceviche and pisco sours. The people weren't pleased with us, and I can't really blame them, but we were hired guns. We were there to do it. So, yeah, everywhere we went, we had armed guards. You just do what you can do, man.
A security detail.
And for what it's worth, I totally understood the plight of the people and sympathized with them. Just a hired gun. Things like you go through typhoons. It is what it is. You band together as a team. We doing a live show in Hurricane.
Did you have your little volleyball like Tom Hanks and Castaway?
Oh, that's funny.
Wilson, just in case.
I loved Wilson. I cried when Wilson got lost.
Too. That scene
was
is
brutal.
so touching.
Wilson. Oh my God.
Wilson!
I know, man. You felt bad for that volleyball. And you felt bad for Tom Hanks, who's, by the way, now there is an American icon, a true national treasure. He just doesn't do a bad movie.
No, he doesn't.
I would say Forrest Gump, Grease.
Grease?
The perfect Sunday morning movies. There's a couple of really good Sunday morning movies, but I would say those are the movies you turn on 9 o'clock in the morning in your bed when it's rainy, and you wind up looking up and it's 11:30 and you just finish the whole thing.
The last one I saw.
Grease is a good one too for that.
The last one I saw from Tom was Road to Perdition.
Okay, that's a little heady. I like the one where Catch Me If You Can. That was one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
Good movie, man.
Yeah, just the yin and the yang of him and the other character. And yeah, he's just an icon. Every now and then you just find a person like that. But the key behind him is he has good people that directionalize him to good projects. Either he finds them or his people find them. That's, you are your team. I don't do anything myself. I've got a team that goes with me. Nothing that we do is individual. Everything, you're only as good as your worst production assistant on set. It's a team, man. And I think everybody, from the cable pullers through your executive producer, man, it's a tough gig. And I respect the people because there's just something so cool about directionalized work where we're all trying to do the same thing. And there's nothing cooler than sleep deprivation among long groups either. Doing hard, working hard, losing sleep, suffering, and then every gig I do, we got a final picture. We take a Last Supper picture so everybody can get in. That I'll actually go into overtime to make sure that everybody gets in that picture.
On that note, man, of all your collaborations with TV networks, which project surprised you the most that it ended with an end result that you did not expect?
Miami Vice.
Vicio Miami.
Yeah, we were hot. We were a hot company. We'd worked on Golden Girls. We'd worked on the Miss Universe pageant. Miss Universe pageant used to get a 40 rating and a 60 share. 40% of all sets in America were turned onto that silly show. And it was a silly show, I totally agree. But you know what? It was also the first product placement show.
We'll be right back with more of Grant Gravitt and his life story.
Cinema Pathway TV, we are committed to bring value to you and our film community as we explore the craft of filmmaking around the world. Also, visit us online at www.paradoxicalfilms.com/shop, where you can purchase Paradoxical Films and Cinema Pathway gear such as hoodies, t-shirts, hats, stickers, and more. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at cinema_pathway_podcast for behind-the-scenes footage, photos, and more.
Welcome back, film enthusiasts. I'm your host, and we are talking today with Mr. Grant Gravitt, amazing filmmaking and human being. Mr. Grant, of all the collaborations you've been a part of, which ones have touched your heart?
I really like working with nonprofits. Part of Tel-Air interest every year is to give back to the community, and we do a charity gig every year. It's my gift. The concept is the charity can't ask for it. I can't be taking somebody's work, and it's something I really want to believe in. So, outside of the professional achievements, what really connects with me is giving back to my community, and that's where I really enjoy doing it. American Cancer Society, the Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranches, Here's Help, Big Brothers Big Sisters, United Way. We seek a group every year. We give them a gift. It's a marketing tape or a sales tape or something in which they can benefit from. That's one of the things I really enjoy doing the most. I mean, you would think it's something that would forge your career, but it's something that we've been blessed. My family has been touched. My life has been to just the point where it's like a dream. So I think the responsibility of giving back to your community is such that when you've been rewarded like that, and when a community embraces you like that, you've got to give back. That's part of your responsibility. So many different projects that we did. I really, really enjoyed that part. And the other part I enjoy doing is the mentoring part of it. It's getting young filmmakers, it's getting into the community, it's getting involved with the University of Miami, or getting involved with Miami-Dade, or getting involved with the high schools, and going out and, just kind of mentoring and championing and cheerleading all our different parts of the community and the film community, because what is a bigger compliment than somebody wanting to do what you want to do? And, as I said before, there's so many flavors of talented in this world. You just got to embrace all the different stories, all the different angles, and all the different people who have the same dream you do. So, those are the parts of things. I love my professional stuff, but the philanthropic stuff is kind of what makes me feel 40 foot tall and bulletproof. That's kind of the way you feel after you've done something good for somebody else, or at least that's the way my vibe is.
And I'm just kind of curious, why did your family didn't establish the business in LA and decided to do it here in Florida? I mean, what's so attractive about Florida?
I live in paradise, okay? I am so Miami, okay? My parents are from Miami. My grandparents are Miami. I have a little saying. I'm 305 born, and I'm 305 bred, and when I die, I'll be 305 dead. This is my hometown. This is where I want to create art. This is where the people I love live. It's just a vibrant community. It's smorgasbord, a melting pot, the different communities. And it's cool because I really feel like I've got a stake in the game. My family were one of the founding fathers, and it's a place I believe in. And when I go around the world, I tell everybody how lucky I am to be in Miami.
How do you see the future of Tel-Air interest?
We're growing. I've got a wonderful right hand, Tiffany Terrell, who will be my apparent predecessor. I mean, not my predecessor, apparently the person taking into the next generation, starting to look at those type of things. I'm certainly at the third of my career. The cool thing about what we do is it keeps you young. You're around young people, you're around creative people, you're around cool people, you're around people you want to hang out with, because if you're going to work 12 hours a day, you got to be around people you like.
All that collagen.
Oh, I've created a environment around me of people I really want to be around. That energy changes. You let those people go out and you get more people to circle in your universe. You cannot create a world around you, but you create your own world around you. And I keep positivity and creativity around me. And when that turns into negativity, I let it exit my galaxy. You get talented people and you let them work. If you're lucky, they will bring their intellectual property. By contract, you owe me 40 hours of directionalized work. If I do it right, I let you feel like you are ownership of the project. You're going to bring your intellectual property. You're going to bring your own mojo to the game. That's where it gets fun. When people buy into the projects and everything is pushing the project forward. A unity team that will go through, that wants to give their best, because everybody knows that they're going to put their fingerprint on a project. You give your crew ownership. You let them be creative. You encourage them. And, that's being a good team leader. At the end of the day, we're coaches. Producers are many things, including a coach and a motivator.
Absolutely. Speaking of young people and, being surrounded by young people, what advice would you give to young filmmakers?
Do it. A writer writes, a filmmaker makes film, even crappy films. Learn, make your mistakes. Be true, be authentic. Tell your stories. Put yourself out there. It's dangerous. It's scary. But put yourself out there, because authenticity is what connects with people. Tell your truth. Don't tell what's right. Tell what's true. That will be what drives anything of quality. It's got to come from an authentic place, and it's got to be told well. But, once again, content is king. Make good content and learn your craft. It's a craft. You're going to get better every day. My philosophy is better than I was yesterday, not as good as I'll be tomorrow. Get better. Hone your craft. Do your stuff. Go out and do it. Nothing else, man. You can look everybody in the eye and say, I did it. May not have been good at it, but I did it. And you can sleep good like that. That's what I believe. I believe filmmakers of any age, of any generation, should be encouraged to, make films. And you can do it anywhere. You can do it on your iPhone, or you can do it on the best area camera. Make a good story. And then go out and show it with pride. I love it, man. We all got good stories. That's the beautiful thing about it. Everybody's got a story in them. Just bring it out. Problem is everybody says they got a good story, but very few people actually write it and do something with it.
I love my craft, man.
Exactly.
I love my acting classes. Yeah. I love this show. You need to be a little bit crazy to be in this type of business. And let me tell you, man, it's you gotta be insane.
Well, there's only one letter that separates artistic from autistic.
Maybe I'm both.
I've actually had friends who are writers, producers, and when they got whatever they were dealing with, they would get medicated. They couldn't perform. They couldn't get their art out. And as many
medicated,
there's mental illness, and we don't talk about it. There's a lot of mental illness amongst talent, amongst crew, amongst anybody that's driven. You think about it. There's such a fine line between OCD and the American dream. You got to be obsessed with what you want to do, and that's a fine line. But I will say that I've had friends who, suddenly, the fountain turns on. I've worked with Brian Wilson he actually heard voices in his head. He was truly schizophrenic. But he also heard these beautiful medleys that nobody else heard, and, friggin' Beach Boys.
I talk to myself all the time.
But do you answer?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. I don't judge. I know I'm on this spectrum.
I answer myself all the time. It's like an inner monologue, but I really just verbalize. Because I'm mentally obsessed with my craft and filmmaking. It's just, it's passionate.
But the truth is going back to finishing a thought, my friends would tell me the magic is in the madness.
Absolutely.
They said that's where the magic lives. And that's what we do. We literally put ourselves, our lives, our egos, our blood on the line for these projects. We bleed for it. These are like children. Every time you put a project out, it's like a child. If you have the passion for it, then you've got to express that. And you are giving so much truth and honesty that, it just takes a lot out of you. And yeah, you do have to draw a fine line in our game. But that's what makes the fun of our game.
I think that streaming services has more original content nowadays. And you got the war between Netflix and Amazon, and it's just like a competitive. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I think that the minute that Lucas sold the rights to Disney, Jon Favreau saved Star Wars with The Mandalorian.
I like the first film. I'm not a sci-fi guy. I just have never been a sci-fi guy, but I'm intrigued.
You don't like Alien?
Well, is that
Ridley
sci-fi?
Scott?
I still think the best invasion film ever was Signs with Mel Gibson. See, that was a psychological one that you saw very little and was absolutely, of course, I love the classic.
That was awesome, Grant. Now, are you ready for final thoughts?
Do this, brother.
basically designed this segment to get to know your human side a little bit more. We learn about, your filmmaking career, you're a businessman, all those things. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. I don't want you to think about anything, just the first thing that pops in your head.
Let's freeform. Let's do this.
What's your favorite word?
Awesome.
Favorite color?
Pink.
What's your favorite place?
Miami.
What's your favorite movie or song?
Forrest Gump.
How would you like to be remembered?
Hardworking guy.
If you have to sum up your entire life in one word, what would that be?
Blessed.
Where can the audience reach you on social media?
Oh man, I love my socials. I'm a blogger on Facebook under my name, Grant Gravitt. Grant Tel-Air is Instagram. Hurricane Grant, because I've always wanted to be named after a hurricane. That is my TikTok. We have a website, telairint.com. We also have our Tel-Air Film site. By the way, we are crowdsourcing for people who want to invest in our films. There are ways in which the outside public can get involved in telling the stories that we tell and getting involved. So at Tel-Air Interest or telairint.com, we have a link to Tel-Air Films, and we are crowdsourcing. So feel free. There's different echelons of involvement and sponsorship. You can actually buy into some of our projects that way. If you want to get involved in filmmaking and you want to partner with us, there's opportunities. And, more importantly, go out there and watch our stuff. And my soon-to-be new thing is Don't Tell Me Out Art. That's going to be a proprietary website that is going to be full of content that will be unique from the TV show. So that's going to have its own presence on the web. And, be my friend. I got a lot of friends on my socials, and it's a really great way of communicating. And I also like LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. Those are how you meet people. I've gotten so many wonderful leads just by telling my story on LinkedIn. But yeah, socials are great, and that's how I can communicate with the people that I need to meet.
Any words of wisdoms that you would like to share with our audience?
I think it gives back to that there are opportunities in what we do, and go out and chase them if this is something you want to do. Dreams are the most valid thing we have, and if this is your dream, I could only encourage you chasing it, because at the end of the day, you will find fulfillment in it. You will find fulfillment in things you love doing. At the end of the day, it just makes me happy and satisfied. I absolutely feel like I was touched by the hand of God.
Thank you so much, Grant, for sharing with us today a little bit about your life, your career at the Cinema Pathway Show. We wish you all the best in your future projects, and remember that you will always have a home here with us.
Thank you. This has been a very enjoyable evening. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for watching, and thank you for making this happen.
We have reached the end of this episode. To our audience, stay tuned for the Cinema Pathway podcast, which is streaming now at your favorite platform. We hope to see you next time for our next episode. And we are the Cinema Pathway TV show. That's a wrap. Lights out.